Hi, my name's Tiffany, and I was diagnosed schizoaffective bipolar type 1 last year around the beginning of May in 2024. And today I just wanted to discuss a little bit what schizoaffective bipolar type 1 disorder is and what my experience has been thus far with the episodes that I have had. So, according to Google, schizoaffective bipolar type is a mental health disorder that combines symptoms of both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. It involves psychotic symptoms like hallucinations and delusions, along with mood episodes of both mania and depression. Individuals with this disorder experience psychosis during both their manic and depressive episodes, and can also have periods where they only have psychotic symptoms but no mood episodes. So I have experienced all of this. I've experienced my initial experience being bipolar was, and I probably had these traits all throughout my life, but the first one that really popped out was my manic episode that I had last year that lasted 3 months. And this was not just a manic episode, it was a psychotic episode as well. So the way that I would describe kind of what it's like to be in this state of mind is, I looked it up, and the average thoughts that a human being has per day is anywhere, there's some conflicting evidence, but it's anywhere from around 6,000 thoughts to 60,000 thoughts per day. So someone who is schizoaffective bipolar and is in an episode, the way that I would describe this is typically you have a filter for thoughts, right? So you have a filter for those 6,000 to 60,000 thoughts that you have per day. You're able to filter through those and know that not every thought that comes into your head is true, and not every thought that you think is one that you should follow through with. You know, we think some really random, stupid thoughts, and you're able to easily pass that off as, exactly what it is. That was just a dumb thought. Why did I think that kind of thing? When you're in a state of mind where you're in a psychotic episode, this filter is kind of gone, pretty much gone, and your thoughts are just coming in, and you will start to believe every thought that you have. Hence the delusion. One of the main symptoms is, delusions and hallucinations. And then you mix that with, if you're a person that is spiritual or religious, or, you've had a close relationship with God throughout your life, and this comes to play in it as well. So that is true for me. I have always believed in God since I was a little girl. I was never really religious. I didn't grow up really going to church. I went to church sometimes with some friends, and I had some distant family members that would attend church. So if I had a sleepover, I would go with them. But, I always had a relationship with God in my head and what that meant to me and my understanding. And so I did have, I've read some scripture. I know a lot of the different Bible stories and kind of overall prophecy and, like Book of Revelations, things like that, end of world type stuff. So for me personally, the episodes that I've experienced have had a very heavy spiritual element tied to them, which is probably the scariest part, if I'm being honest. It's something I didn't even think that I would talk about, because the spiritual element has been so heavy that I've even been scared and thinking that maybe there was, some activity in my house that I was susceptible to, if you want to call it demonic possession. I don't know. That's what it felt like and I think a lot of people who are bipolar, especially schizoaffective, could probably agree that when you're in a mental state like that and it's a severe episode, it does feel like something else has control over you. You've at that point, you've lost control of your ability to regulate your emotions. You've lost control of the ability to regulate your thoughts, the ability to regulate your behavior in many instances. So, and that was really the case for me. I got cut off there, so I'm filming this a little bit later in the day. But I did want to talk about a specific psychotic episode that I had earlier this year in February. I got into a car accident during that time, and during that car accident, or afterwards rather, in the aftermath, I had gotten rear-ended on 70 West. I was at a standstill in my Jeep and got rear-ended by someone going full speed. And I not only survived that crash, but I survived it with no physical injuries despite not having a seatbelt on, besides what looked like a stubbed toe. And during that time, I was having a delusion during the crash that had to do with me getting, it was like, I remember seeing the movie Twilight and thinking about Twilight and how I was gonna like become a vampire or something, I guess, so I could live forever. But I remember hearing a voice saying, "Go, give her the poison, otherwise she's gonna die." I remember getting the impact, feeling in my head, almost like I could feel from my head, like getting hit and feeling a really big bang on my head. And then it just it just went through my entire body. And I felt that impact through every bone in my body. Yet I didn't have any, physical injury other than, and I'll insert a picture of, my toe. So weird, but the way that I kind of got through that and have dealt with that and dealt with a lot of my episodes is by writing. I will journal or I will write poetry, and I will end this video with a poem that I wrote after the car accident that I got into. And this was based on the delusion and the hallucination that I was having about being bitten so that I could live or have everlasting life. And that poem, if I can find it here, is called Black Widow Spider. So I'll go ahead and read that. Black and red, violin shape, so perfectly sized to infiltrate. Your bite, your venom, so toxic it is, a poison to the brain functionality. Neurotoxins overtake body, mind, and soul to take. Am I crazy? Is this real? How long must I endure your neurotoxicity? Is there a cure? Please give me the antidote, the anti-venom, before I choke on mere oxygen. I think I'm dead, or am I dying? Am I coming, or merely going? Round in spirals, like a circle. I always land at the same starting spot. It's a spiral. Round, round, and around it goes. Breathe in, breathe out. The breath feels shallow. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And whatever you're doing, I hope that you have a good rest of your day or evening. Thank you.